Hello, extra time.
They point to the league not to get a high because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
Simple look, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit to the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Beattie down to manage the Irish team.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Extratime Football Podcast. Your host Luke Jordan. Season 12, episode 7 this week. Later on, Steven Beattie is joining us for our chat. But first, I will run through the fixtures from last weekend in the SSE Electricity League. Starting with the Premier Division, we had Dundalk 0, Waterford 0, Galway United 0, Shamrock Rovers 1, St Patrick's Athletic 1, Shelbourne 2, Bohemians 2, Derry City 1, and Sligo Rovers 3, Drogheda United 1. In the first division, we had Kerry 1, Cove Ramblers 1, Cork City 2, Bray 0, Wexford 1, Finn Harps 2, UCD 3, Athlone Town 0, and Longford Town and Treaty United was called off. In the Women's Premier Division, we have Bows 0, Athlone Town 1, Shamrock Rovers 1, Wexford Youths 1, Treaty United 2, DLR Waves 0, Keymount 0, Shelbourne 2, and Galway United 5, Cork City 0. We have a bit of audio from last weekend, starting with the game in Inchicore, where Shelbourne won 2-1 on the night, and our reporter Patrick O'Connor was at the game and he dropped us this voice note.
Good evening, this is Patrick O'Connor from Extratime.com here at Richmond Park, reporting on the game tonight between St Patrick's Athletic and Shelbourne. It's just ended. Final score was Shelbourne 2, St Patrick's Athletic 1. What a game, probably one of the games of the season so far. First half was very high intensity, some really good football played by both sides, or both intent on playing it on the deck. The two main strikers on both sides, Sean Boyd and Rory Keating, were both well marshalled by their respective centre half, so they didn't have a shot on goal in the first half. Now the keeper was really tested in the first half, but nevertheless it was a really exciting 45 minutes. The breakthrough came early in the second half from Will Jarvis, gathered the ball inside the box, teased Freeman, the Pats full back, and then curled it beautifully into the bottom right-hand corner of the net. Superb goal. 10 minutes later, the same guy made it 2-0. Again, he got a ball inside the box and flashed it into the corner of the net. It looked all over at that stage. With about 69 minutes gone, it was really only that point the Pats began to play, and they fired on all cylinders from that point until the end of the game. Jake Mulroney came on as a sub, scored a good header, a ball into the box, floated in by Shelbourne, another sub, and he guided it with his head into the bottom corner of the net to make it 2-1. And from then on, really, it was all Pats. They bombarded the Shells' goal, looking for an equaliser. In reality, they probably would have deserved it. But the Shell's rear guard was strong. Barrett and Malloy were superb. So there was 8 minutes of added time. It looked like Pats might get the equaliser, but it never came. And it finished, as I said, Shelbourne 2, St Patrick's Athletic 1. Shell's still top of the league tonight.
Next, you're going to hear the voices of Ollie Horgan and Stephen Beattie as our reporter Paul Corcoran spoke to both after the match. Let's have a listen.
I don't think you need to ask me that, Mike. Of course, probably hugely disappointed with the concession of the goal so late in the game, but that's often the nature of playing Shamrock Rovers. I just thought at the time, if they'd scored in the first half when they were on top, you might have seen it differently. I felt at the time that we probably weren't in any grave danger of losing the game. Not saying we'd have gone and won the game. Probably had the better chances in the second half, but in the first half, Shamrock Rovers were the better side, had to score that, and we switched off basically. Dylan Watts clipped the ball in, and Al had switched off, and Johnny Kenny does what he does. I thought we were very good as regards our shape, our organisation, our togetherness. And while we didn't have a whole lot of chances in the first half, I thought the second half we certainly, if you like, broke even. We had a couple of good chances, albeit half chances from the edge of the area. I think Stephen Walsh had a header that went just past the post. And it's probably the fact that we had our best spell of the game at the time and we conceded. But that's the quality of Shamrock Rovers. And it's a very quiet changing room in there, which is a good thing. They're hurting. We're all hurting. But that's what it's about, and that's what this division is about. Like, we've lost narrowly at home here to, obviously, Shamrock Rovers, to Pats, We lost narrowly in Shelbourne, all 1-0. And that's maybe the relentless nature of this league and the quality of this league. If you don't, if you switch off for a second, as we did there tonight, you get punished.
And the only time they actually got behind you.
Well, yeah. Although we did sit deep and we probably didn't cough up spaces in there. They played in the pockets and we dealt with them quite well. I thought they created more in the first half than they did in the second half. I think it's just the timing of it is the part that's hard to take. But we've no one to blame bar ourselves. Like, we're not going, complaining about officials and whatever. It's the relentless nature rather that, you switch off for a second, albeit in the 85th minute, and Dara Burns does, and then Johnny Kenny, who pops up, he gets in between the two centre halves. And, another day that could have gone over the crossbar and he hit it that hard, but that's what it is. It's better this, in my eyes, and competing with the best in the country than winning, if you like, in the lower division. But it does physically and mentally test you. And to be fair to the lads, I thought they were excellent there tonight, bar that moment of switching off.
I thought we totally deserved it, to be honest. I thought on another night we could have been 2 or 3 up. I think a grand chance in the first half. The 2 free headers Josh's miss. There's 1 or 2 around the box that were just blocked. I thought a lot of our play was really, really good on a difficult pitch. I thought we were very good, and the goal was really high level in terms of pass, the time of the run, and then the finish from Johnny. It was everything you would want and everything we'd work on.
And maybe just a really quick one, Steve. So, not to make a big deal out of winning for the first time tonight. It's so early in the season, but I suppose it must be nice heading into the 2-week break with that first win under your belt.
Yeah, look, there's no point shying away. We wanted to win more games. Yeah. There's not standing here saying we're okay with not winning games. That's not us. We've set standards. We want to win games. So we're not happy with where we are in terms of points total. I'm not saying that at all. We want to win. And we want the 3 points on the board as soon as possible. But like I said, we know what it takes over the course of the season. When we've been so successful, the worry is hunger and mentality. And I've seen actually more hunger and more drive to want to be successful, which is the pleasing thing. So when you have that and you have the quality, you're in a good place. And I believe this group are in a good place. And look, it's this here 4th game or 5th game, so it's early. But like you said, it's a win. We get the international break, hopefully get a few bodies back, hopefully Pico and Marcus and Dara Burns come back okay, and then we can kick on after the international break.
Thanks, Steve.
And join me now in this week's episode is Donal Ryan and former Cork City Bear Steven Beattie. Stephen, how are you?
Really good, lad. You all good?
Yeah, all good. I suppose before we even talk about football, how was life in Dubai?
A little bit different, yeah. Loving it so far. Obviously, the weather, good money. Mrs. is happy. Just got a puppy, so yeah, all going good. A lot different to the last few years.
How does one end up in Dubai?
Once I finished football, what was that, 3 years ago now or 2 years ago? Not at a loose end. I went straight into on post. Grand job, kept me taking over on my feet. Wanted to keep fit, obviously, because the biggest thing I didn't want to do was just turn into a slob when I finished playing. So me and the missus, no kids. We sat there one day in Cork. She's obviously a Cork girl, and we're like, "What are we doing? We're trying to save our house. What's the point of getting stuck in the long mortgage at home for something we're not going to be happy in?" So looked at different ideas. She's been in Australia. I've obviously been in the States, and we came in between to Dubai.
And how's the lifestyle compared to, say, when you were at Cork at the time? How's it compare?
I have to be careful because obviously she's from Cork, but it's obviously you can't really compare it. Like, it's just in Ireland in general, the safety is the most important for us. It's just a very safe place. But now I love it. It's after opening up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities. Can't see yourself going back anytime soon. So something's going well over here.
And Stephen, was travelling something you always kind of wanted to do? I mean, even when you were playing in Ireland, you were kind of all over the place between Dublin and Cork, and a little pit stop in Sligo as well. And going over to Puerto Rico, I think, now in Dubai. Like, was that something, I suppose, standing still isn't really a thing that you do?
No. Nail on the head. So I left home. I was just a week before, so 17, a week before my 18th birthday, on a football scholarship to the States. Just pretty much took the scholarship. Pat Fenn was actually manager at Shells at the time. I was underage, and he offered me a small deal there, and I said, no, I'll go and get my education. Just fly the nest, because you can always come home. And ever since then, I kind of just kickstarted. I always had to, I don't know, I was probably too hard on myself, but I'd done my ACL, I was in Puerto Rico early after my kind of career started. And even at that stage of 21, 22, I was like, well, I'm never going to make fortunes off it. I'm never going to live off my football wage, just being realistic. So use it for life experiences and travel and see the world. And League of Ireland's great, but I don't want to play in League of Ireland for 12 years. And you might have medals to show for it and stuff, but you're not going to buy a massive house, or you're not going to be financially stable and comfortable for the most part. Now the money's got a lot better and stuff, but I always just jumped at opportunities. Iceland for a few years. Like, I actually went from Puerto Rico to Iceland. It's when we look back at it, it's fairly mad the way the career pathed out, but I always have. And my missus now is the same. She's lived in a couple of different countries as well, so obviously not going to settle here for life, but another few years and then back home.
Yeah, stick it out for another while anyway. Just something you mentioned there at the start before you kind of listed off all the counties and countries that you've been in. You were talking about going over to get your scholarship and get your education. That wasn't really much of a big thing, I suppose, at a time when you would have done that. So, like, did you get a lot, or you must have got a lot of support from home to kind of encourage you to go and get your education, given that you probably thought the football wasn't something you could make a proper living out of and retire off?
Yeah, like, they were always very supportive. Like, I remember my mum and dad, like, my uncle's Mick Neville, so obviously Shelbourne captain for years, and very, very fortunate to have a great career in the League of Ireland. So football's ingrained in me. Mum and dad were always supportive, whether it's like, right, I want to go to England, or I want to go to America. They're always just like, look, it's the right decision for you, and you think it's right, go for it. So I've always had that kind of support system. I know a lot of people don't have that luxury, but they never missed a game, I don't think. Even when I went to America on a scholarship, they were watching live stats. There wasn't even video at the time. There's literally live text commentary, and they were watching that all hours in the morning. But yeah, I went to Clás de Ida, and it's still around. Obviously wasn't as popular back then. You're showing me age now. But yeah, that was in Finglas. It was brilliant. A lot of us went over to Memphis on a showcase, and then a few of us got scholarships off the back of that. That's what I was playing with Shells under 21. So it was kind of a good balance for me leaving secondary school, because I wasn't fantastic in skill. So kind of matured me a little bit for obviously then to make a move to the States at 18.
And you mentioned going to Iceland there as well. What was playing in Iceland like? Because any time that Irish sides have faced Icelandic teams in Europe, usually the Icelandic teams give them a bit of bother. So, like, what was it like living and playing over there?
Yeah, obviously living wise was unbelievable. Like, probably arguably the best place I've visited, just for the beauty of it. Like, active volcanoes, like on your doorstep, Northern Lights, stuff like that. But the playing wise is brilliant, because around that time Iceland were doing really well in the Euros and stuff. But it all boils down to the infrastructure. Like, obviously the FEI can take note and take a lot what they do. So they pump all their money and competition money back into youth coaching. So they pay for their coaches to get their licenses all the way up to your A license. So it's all relayed back into the football environment. No matter what town it is, no matter how big or small, they have to have a 7-a-side pitch, floodlit, that's put in by the government as well. So every little town has a facility where the kids can play. So it's just non-stop football, like jumpers for goalposts, literally in the snow, and they'll be out kicking football. But then obviously the coaching's there as well, where nobody wants to leave. It's all there for them. So I think that's why football was thriving and is thriving in the Scandinavian countries, especially Iceland. Like, it's only 350,000 in the whole country, and they've got that infrastructure in place for coaches, which is unbelievable.
Just speaking of football away from home, I suppose Kentucky's not a place I'd say football or soccer with. Like, what was it like in Kentucky playing football?
I was lucky because I know Kentucky down south, redneck, but I was on the Cincinnati, Ohio border, which is quite a big city in the Midwest, and like literally the river separated us. So it wasn't in the sticks, as you say. It was still southern, but our original plan was to go there for a year, and then you can transfer colleges, So my plan was to get my SAT scores up and then go up to a bigger college. But I hit the ground running there, an unbelievable relationship with the manager, the coach. I still talk to him today, and I won National Player of the Year in the whole of America my second year, and I was like, well, why would I leave? And end up becoming then the first Irishman to be drafted into the MLS.
And how close were you to making a MLS appearance?
Not very, to be honest with you. No, I went 13th or 17th, 13th or 17th in the draft. I was a little bit disappointed at the time, believe it or not, because I was on the front of LA Galaxy's website as one of the top draft prospects. And that was the time Beckham was there and Robbie Keane. So obviously, I was a United fan growing up, Irish fan growing up, two idols essentially of United and Ireland. So I always said to me, mum and dad, I said, even if I got a second to play with them, you can always say you played with Beckham and Keane. But then Toronto tipped in and took me without talking to my agent. And the unfortunate part was he just drafted me for a number. Got up there, didn't even know my name. Fighting a losing battle before I really started. They only allowed 7 international spots, and then they bit me out on loan straight away to Puerto Rico. So that's how we ended up down there. So to answer your question, it was miles away.
They never had any interest really of playing you, just because of a draft pick they had to take you.
Draft pick, they can pass on it, but they just took me. And it was Aaron Winter that used to play for Ajax. I don't know if you remember that name. He missed a pen on the Champions League final. Loads of Dutch caps, but it was him. And I met when we walked in. It was option. He goes, "Oh, what's your name?" I was like, Steven Beattie. He's like, looking through his notes, like, and you could tell there's no one else there. He's like, "Oh, what position are you playing?" It was just a bit annoying because LA actually went out, and I'd met Bruce Arena at the time after the combine and was getting on well with them. I was on their website. I was thinking, "Oh Jesus!" Like, even if I got released after a day, you would have trained with the boys. And then it sounds terrible that you get drafted and you're not excited as you thought you'd be. And then once I went up to Toronto, then like, the nails in the coffin the first day, like it was just disaster.
What was the point of that?
It's just the American system. I think it's changed a little bit now where they can pass and stuff. But I think because of what I'd done in college, they took me but then I don't think they knew I was an international. That's how bad it was, that I would have taken international space. Because he asked me when I met him, he's like, "Oh, what's your accent?" I was like, "Irish." He's like, "All right." I was like, "This is disaster." Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just one of them things, unfortunate. A lot to take when you're, 21. And then obviously went on loan to Puerto Rico and done my cruise shit 10 days later.
Wow. Out of all the other Irish lads that went over, did any of them make a success over there in terms of playing MLS or NASL? I think Niall McCabe lost to Egypt, went over.
Niall McCabe's doing great. Niall McCabe's on his 10th year in Louisville. Dublin lad, good fella. Met him a few times over there. There was a young lad actually from Skerries where I'm from, Peter McLean. He got drafted to San Jose. Never made an appearance. Didn't really do anything after that football-wise. I think he gave it up quite early. James Chambers went over for a little bit. He's coaching over there now. So there is still a few, but MLS-wise, the boy that plays at Pats now, was it Moraney? He obviously made. He obviously made a good few MLS appearances. But obviously he'd been in the SPL and stuff like that. So the college route, I don't think anyone did actually make them or has made an MLS appearance. But Aaron Malloy, Trevor Malloy's young lad's over there now. He's doing well, so he might have a chance. He's a really good player. He's in around the peripherals of the USL, so we'll see.
When you're in Iceland and playing that season, did you always think you're maybe one step away from coming home?
Yeah. See, I was coming off the knee injury. I was going to come home and play, but I didn't want to. Again, I was kind of a bit older, wiser beyond my years. I was only 24, 25 at the time, I'd say. But I didn't want to go into the League of Ireland and stink the place up because I wasn't fully healed from the ACL injury. So I used Iceland kind of as can I still play, basically? Can I play to the level where I know I could play at? Because I didn't want to go in and fail, just out of pride at home when your mates are watching the games and stuff like that. And like, it was nearly a safety net in Iceland where if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Nobody knew it was over there anyway. But kind of built myself back up, my confidence football-wise. I was doing well. I got offered a deal in the Icelandic Premier League, quite a good deal. Then I had a few issues at home, stuff with my family and that. So it was like, look, it's probably the right time to go home for a little bit. And that's how I went back to the League of Ireland then.
What was it like at Bowes at that time?
It was really good, yeah. So it was, obviously part-time. So I was working away at the time as well. But like Derek Pender was there, Jason Byrne, Anton Murphy, like some really, really good footballers. Keith Buckley still there, Wardy was there. So it's all like a really, really good team, but obviously it was part-time. It was great. I think it was a great start for me in the League of Ireland to go a place like Bowes. especially with the fan base they have and me being from Dublin. So yeah, I never ever regretted going to Bohs at all because it gave me a really good platform into League of Ireland. I got on well with Owen Heary. Even from my uncle's playing days, he was playing with Heary, so I had that little connection. And yeah, no, I really enjoyed my time at Bohs. Now it was only a year, but no, it definitely paved me way probably for the career that I end up having in the League of Ireland. So definitely no regrets that side.
And Stephen, how did you feel about coming home just in general? Obviously, you were playing in leagues that were, I think it's fair to say, of a much higher standard than the League of Ireland at that time, especially. Did you see like coming back as like maybe taking a step down in your career, or did you feel like I could have made it and I didn't? Or like, you hear about all these things, players come back from England and such, those kind of feelings and sentiments that they have. Did you have any of that at all when you were coming back to the League of Ireland?
No, because I think it's different for lads coming back from England where they're nearly in touching distance of a Premier League team or a Championship team, and where it is life changing money. And I was saying money, like it's not all financially driven, but again, I was probably had that head on my shoulders where I'm not leaving a Man City or I'm not leaving a Leeds United. I'm leaving Iceland. It's similar-ish, but there is a way to pave it. And I still had ambitions, obviously, at 25, 26, but I had a good year or two to maybe nip over the water for 3 or 4 years. Who knows? That was in the back of my mind. But no, I definitely think it was a step down. It was more for me, it was a test because obviously after my uncle and that was like, right, I want to play in it and see, obviously, could you be even emulate 1% of his success? So yeah, never thought like that. But I do think it's different for the boys coming back from England mentally because that's obviously you're in touch and distance of the big time essentially.
And you mentioned there you had a great year at Bowes there as well on your return, and obviously you had all your success down with Cork City, but I suppose you stopped up in the northwest alongside us there at Sligo Rovers as well. Tell us a little bit about your short stay there.
Yeah, I followed Harry, and so Owen obviously got the job in Sligo after the Bows in my first year. He took a few of us, Deanie Cork and Kev Devaney. I think Wardy went up as well. There's a few. Jesus, a long time ago now, isn't it? But no, I liked it. To be honest with you, I liked it at the start. And again, to be perfectly honest, you could see it was kind of a lot of players had been there for a lot of years, and it was a bit clicky and obviously when things weren't going bad, we got the stick because we came up with Harry, and it was just kind of that. It was hard to settle, really. I think a few of the lads had the same issue. But look, it was one like Cork were with me before I signed for Sligo, and obviously hindsight, like I ended up being cup tied for the cup final that year with Cork, and hindsight 100%, I would have went straight to Cork. Hindsight's brilliant, not just football and life. But again, it was a learning experience. That was my first time my manager got the sack when I was involved in the team. And yeah, so the summer came and Caulfield rang me again and said, look, you're not going to make the same mistake again. And I said, no, where do I sign? So yeah, that was 2015. And obviously the best decision I've ever made, best memories of my career and most successful time in my career.
Yeah, just on that, your spell there at Sligo Rovers, like that was a team that was kind of coming like towards the end of its cycle, really. Like they'd won a league, they're off the back of winning like a couple of cups as well. I think a lot of Sligo Rovers fans would say themselves that it was a time where it was kind of the beginning of the low period of the I don't know, the late teens of that decade. So obviously it was a no-brainer for you to kind of get out of there, as you've said.
Yeah, and Sligo was a huge club as well. Like not just the Midwest. Like League of Ireland needs teams like Sligo Rovers. Like, cause remember when I signed, like huge fan base. I know it's kind of because where it's been at since obviously nearly we could say that time they haven't got back to the levels where they could potentially could get to, because like even when they do the fundraising and stuff, they fundraise mad money. It just shows the support they have. But yeah, timing, I just don't think it was the right time for me going into, as you said, they'd won the FAI Cup, they'd won the league. I think 2 or 3 years previous, with like some like the good like Collies and stuff like that. But even there's some good lads there. John Russell, who's manager there now, he was there at the time, and there's good connections there. But as I said, it was just kind of coming to the end when I was kind of only kick-starting my career, so it was like a bad kind of overlap.
Cork City then, just I suppose on the manager first, who I looking back and reflecting on now, you'd see was probably the pivotal person for the rise of Cork at the time. Like, how did John Caulfield take it the best out of that squad? Maybe yourself personally.
How long do we have? That man, he should be a politician first off. Shouldn't be a football manager. You go into John Caulfield annoyed angry, pissed off, he's taken you off, or he hasn't played you. And on a Monday morning, you're fuming, your weekend, you haven't slept, and you go in, and somehow after 5 minutes, he's giving you a hug, and you walk out of the office and you forget what you're talking about. Like, oh shit, I was in there to slaughter him, and now he's, you know what I mean? The way he manages players and gets players on side, and you know, the cliche, you run through a wall from, like, he was the most passionate football man I've ever come across, ever. Now, if you ask anyone at that team at the time, they'll tell me and him had the biggest love-hate relationship. We had many run-ins, some public, some private, on the training ground, off the training ground. But he put his arm around me then the next day, and it was forgotten about. But I think that all just arrived that we're both such winners that the mentality is just win, win, win at all costs. Like, it's looking back now, playing through some of the stuff I played through, I should never have played it, but he getting injections at half time, you just didn't want to let him down. And it was direct link to our success. It was just, we had arguably 20 lads with the same mentality. And if you have stuff like that, it's just, obviously you have to be a little bit talented as well, but that mentality just gets you through so many games. And training was just ferocious, like disgusting, some of the stuff. And it just, and again, lads shaking hands after, like having a full force fight and then shaking hands, and best mates off the pitch, but training and matches, it was just, that all came from him and John Cotter. It was just that, like, it was a mad place to be. Like, when you look back on it now, I was like, Jesus Christ, it was nuts.
I suppose from the outside looking in, I always thought with the Caulfield setup in Cork at the time, it was very much, they thought it was us against the world, kind of. Was that kind of mentality kind of instilled in the team?
Nail on the head. Yeah, that was his philosophy. Like, the media were always out to get us. Some case they were, some case they weren't. But he'd sift through 20 good articles and find one bad one, and it'd be on the dressing room wall. You know what I mean? It's like, and then he just had a knack. Like, he was, but like, don't forget, Sean Maguire. Like, I was in his wedding, like one of my best mates, and he told me, he's like, he was going to give up football after being on the bench in the stands for Dundalk in the cup final. He was done. He'd fed up. He told his dad he was giving up, and Caulfield and Alan Reynolds, to be fair, and persuaded to come down to Cork, and he signed for a penny's contract, and ended up getting top goal scorer that season. But John just gave him that freedom and put his arm around Shawnee every day after training. You're the best player I've seen, blah, blah, blah. And Sean Maguire is a confidence footballer. You can see that throughout his career. And John was that kind of figure where he just, I know if he had to whip him after 60 minutes, he did, but he'd still then have him. And he managed every single person different, which is very hard to do when you've got 20 people managing everyone in a special way. And yeah, unbelievable.
I think one of the things that stands out for me, Stephen, is I think the 2016 FA Cup final was probably would you say maybe it was the catalyst to make that team believe that they could beat that Dundalk side at the time, was high and flying Europe and all? Was that the catalyst? And then even you mentioned Sean Maguire, kind of the moment for him that year ago, he's in the stand, a year later, he's scoring the winner against Dundalk in the cup final, 120 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And we've said it publicly as well, if we didn't win that final with the last kick of the game, I don't think we would have won the league next year. I don't think we would have won the cup next year. Because what were we, bridesmaids essentially 2 years in a row? And like, no matter what, and no matter what way you could perceive it to the media, it did play a negative part in you. Like, you're always thinking, when are we going to go over the line here? And to win it that way, to kind of get the monkey off the back, then you're like, right. And then going into the 17, you have the same players, a strengthen again. And you're like, right, this is going to, I mean, we nearly knew it was going to be our year in 17, but if we hadn't done that in 16, there's no way you're going into the new season that mentality. But like, even 2016, we had an unbelievable European run that, like, people forget. Like, Genk knocked us out with Leon Bailey and Didi, Trossard, like an unbelievable team. And like, what was that, one round away from going into the group stage as well. So we were neck and neck with Dundalk, one of the best League of Ireland teams. Like, let's call it a spade, if not one of the best League of Ireland teams of all time. That team, with McElhenney, with Darrell, like, but we used to love them games. Like, it was just, we were so far ahead of the pack, us and Dundalk, them years. It was frightening. Like, Rovers were a rebuilding process. Like, I remember I think we beat Rovers 5-0 in Tala in a cup quarter final, like in front of about 2,000 people. I think that was 17, or could have been. But like, we were so far ahead, but then we couldn't get one over the dock. They were always just nipping us, and then obviously We won that with the throw in and Shawnee's disgusting goal. Then that was just the belief then we needed. And we went 21 undefeated then 2017 to start. The season was over before it started. Like we were just absolutely relentless.
Do you claim an assist for that goal?
Imagine the highlight of your career being a throw-in.
And all you've done, Stephen, and all you've done.
That's all I've claimed.
No, it's actually sometimes you maybe don't realise how good that Cork team was. You think about us on the bench that day as well. I mean, Chitozio Benny comes on, I'm pretty sure, in the second half. Like, look where he's gone on to, and he couldn't get into the team. Like that's an incredible feat for that.
Chio should have scored the winner. If you watch that back, he came in and extra time. It was either extra time or just before the end. He missed the sitter. Gary's made a great save, but unbelievable team. Like, and that was like, if you didn't start, like, you'd be fuming. But Caulfield had linear where you'd still go around and wish everyone the best luck. You meant it. You know what I mean? Whereas I've been in teams where you can see, like, oh, best of luck. Like, hope you fall over the ball. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But these lads were like really, really wanted to win at all costs, and like things happen. Like, lads go off injured after 10 minutes. The boys are trying to do the exact same job, but like Kenny Brown and stuff like that, Alan Bennett, we had Ryan Delaney on loan, just Stephen Dooley, most underrated football I'll ever see. We just had these cracking footballers all over the park.
I know it's probably a hard question to answer, maybe to point one reason, but obviously the high of 2017 going on to win the league by numerous points. The years that follow, and I know you were gone by the time the club did get relegated, but can you put your finger on what went wrong, like between the club, the management? Obviously, John Cobb was sacked, Neil Fenn came in. Like what happened in that kind of 2-year period where you've gone from the highs of winning the league to suddenly a club in the first division?
Yeah, like for me, it was so that we done the Dublin 17, 2018. So I always wanted to play in Europa League qualifier, Champions League qualifier, win a cup, win a league. So 18 we played in the Champions League qualifiers. That was my kind of list ticked off, you know what I mean? And it goes back to me always wanting to do something and travel and stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't have gone to any other League of Ireland team, but I'd seen it towards the end of 18. We lost a lot of players and we didn't really replace them with the quality that we were losing. And it stems back to Shawnee as well. We never replaced Shawnee going through halfway through 17. And then that kind of dominoed into 18. We were struggling for goals and stuff like that. And then as the season was finished, and I kind of, after the FA Cup final, I failed a fitness test. And I watched that and I'd seen our bench compared to the last few years. And there was talk of who we were signing, who we weren't signing. And Sadler had just left. And we were losing these top quality players. And I could see it. And I'd done a podcast with Paul Doolan in Abbottstown. And I actually said it. I said Cork won't finish in the top 4 in 2019. And I got some stick for that, obviously, off the Cork City fans. But when you're in the dressing room getting ingrained, and I'm a Cork City fan, you know what I mean? Like, I was living it, and I could see it kind of happening. And it was nothing like, let's be honest, I was a right back, very easy replaced, but we were losing not just talented footballers, but big figures in the dressing room. And that was the clog in the wheel of everything Cork City was, the big figures in the dressing room and the mentality and the winning mentality. And I could see it happening. You could see it. I don't know whether it was John wasn't getting the funds. I don't know if John wasn't getting the players. The players didn't want to come down to Cork. I don't know the ins and outs, but I could see it. I could see it. Just not the quality that we'd had for the 3 or 4 years previous. And then obviously what transpired then was what I kind of seen. I think John was gone before the Europa League qualifier, but the boys lost to like an awful team. I watched it, and I think then that was the demise then of that generation of Cork City. And like the size of that club, they shouldn't ever be, never mind the first division, but not even in the top half of the Premier League. But like, it's happened now. It's been a yo-yo. I went back for a year. Again, hindsight, I wasn't fit enough. I was coming off a knee injury from COVID. I should have probably retired then, but me being who I was, I tried to be a bit of a hero and save the club and get them promoted with Grove Morrissey. But you know what they say, you leave soon enough to be, was it leave a hero or stay long enough to become a villain, whatever that is?
Yeah.
There's a famous saying, but I felt like I was taking injections and and I was 30, 32, coming off a knee operation, couldn't rehab during COVID. And, I was just trying to do my part because at the end of the day, they were so good to me, but it obviously didn't work out. But they should win the league this year. They can't, to be honest with you. And then they just need that sustainability where they get the players in again and kind of cement, just stepping stones, cement their place in the league, then start working your way up to Europe and top four. And like if you had asked me halfway through 17 that the club would be where they were in 2019, I would have laughed. It's just obviously a lot of stuff happened that we don't know about, that I don't know about behind the scenes. But it is sad to see, really is sad to see. Like I still follow the games, watch the games when I can, and just watching or even playing for me in first division that time was like Jesus. Like,
but it's funny you mentioned kind of maybe it's the club and stuff, and I suppose one of the criticisms maybe at the time was in terms of the squad. I mean, in 2018-19 was a bit bloated and players kind of came in. Like I kind of look at maybe one example, yourself playing right back, playing very well. And then they signed Toby Adebayo Rowling and right back from Cork or from Sligo. You're kind of going, that's an unnecessary possible sign. That's kind of just an example top of my head. I just remember, was there maybe just overspending in certain parts and bringing players in that weren't necessary?
John Caulfield also signing Sligo Rovers players.
I was waiting for that. There probably was a bit of that overspending. Like, again, I'm very honest, our wages weren't massive. And I know the averages of wages that people were spoken about, they weren't where they probably a quarter of what Rovers' bill would be right now, wage bill would be. Of course he made some bad signings. Every manager does. But I think what they did start going away from was the mold of a player of will they fit into that dressing room. I remember when John even was trying to sign me the first time. He didn't even talk football. He was asking about me mum and dad, what they do, their relationship. Do I have a missus? What do I do off the pitch? And obviously when I got to know him, that's just all getting a profile of me as a person, not a player. Because obviously he knows I can play, but then it's like, will I fit into his dressing room? And then you go in, he knows you. So I think they went away from that side of it as well. So, I don't think overspending. I just think getting the wrong people in.
And Stephen, I suppose before you retired, you mentioned there as well, you were picking up a fair amount of injuries and stuff. And you're the kind of the style of player you were, like pace was a massive part of your game. Like how you've talked as well about when you were getting injuries, because I suppose later on and you were doing all you could to stay on the pitch when you probably should have been rehabbing a bit better and stuff. Like how difficult was that to deal with when you were kind of losing what made you the player that you were?
Mentally it's very tough. As you said, like I'd either be all in or all out, jumping into tackles and obviously trying to pace up and down. And I didn't really like defending, so I'd always try and attack because I'd usually get exposed to my defensive side of it. As I said, when I was younger, I'd done my ACL and I never got full flexion back in that knee. So it was always like a degree out. So basically it's bent out of shape by a degree. So they wore me down the line that obviously you're overcompensating on the other side no matter what, even if it's a really, really small percentage. So over time, it wears away on the other side. So long and behold, they ended up doing my meniscus. When they went in, they found I'd no cartilage on that side. So they whipped out my meniscus. They'd done microfracture surgery. So they dug a couple of holes into my bone to promote blood flow, to make a scab, to make me cartilage. Long story short. Things were starting to go. Because again, as I said, the trying explosiveness. I'm not telling myself the boys would be in stretching and I'd stretch, but I wouldn't be giving it me 100%. And I needed to after coming through such a serious injury, even though I was young. And then my hamstrings started to go. Even with Caulfield, they were starting to go. I tore a couple of ligaments in my ankle, got a couple of ejections, and all that stuff was fine. But the hamstrings are the ones that started to get me big time. And then when I went back to Cork, my last stint, I was doing well in pre-season. Healers made me do a bit of running as well, and I could feel it. And as a senior player, I should have just said that's enough. Like I've done my training. It was a week before the Cove game, first game of the season, and I ended up doing one more doggy, and fucking thing went like. And again, if I was 21, I'd get away with it, but I should have just walked him. I remember even Jason Byrne back in the day, he'd only train 3 times a week, or the senior pros, and the hamstring ended up going, and then didn't play the first game of the season, missed the first 2 or 3. That was on my left side, then my right side went, and then my left side went again. So then I just knew. Didn't play much really. Played 90 minutes last game of the season. Actually felt all right, weirdly enough. It was in the back of my mind I was going to retire, but my mind was kind of made up for me, really. Colin was like, "You're too old."
And do you have any regrets around the way you kind of handled yourself with your injuries? Like you said there, like maybe not stretching properly when you should have been, or giving it the full attention when it needed it. Like you still went on to have a pretty good and successful career despite that. But is there any kind of tinge of regret about how you handled all of that?
Yeah, there's always regret. Like, I obviously love going had a night out on Saturday night, and like never ever ever like during the week, but I'd go out on me Saturday night and then Sunday. But as I got older, obviously your recovery that hampered you. Young lads you get away with it, bright as rain on a Monday morning, but then as you start getting older in your career, that does have an effect and stuff like that. But stretching like that's minimal. Like I was behind the 8 ball early days once I done my knees with such a bad knee injury. Like I can't beat myself too much about it. One regret is the amount of injections I took, probably. God knows what that has long term. Took a fierce amount of cortisone and stuff like that. Like I took a shot in my arse, the warm up before the Genk game, and I fainted in the dressing room before the warm up. And I went out and I was warming up and seeing about 40 floodlights, and I ended up getting man of the match, Mark Leon Bailey. But I woke up at 3 o'clock that morning, tears with the pain. I was after doing 2 ligaments in my ankle, but I didn't know because of the stuff that was in there. So who knows long term, like that probably all had a domino effect going, but not just muscular, but I mean mentally. Hopefully, I'm all right. I was never fully there anyway, so I can't blame the injection.
Was it worth it for the man of the match?
Yeah, for the story with Leon Bailey, I probably shouldn't tell the story, but look, here we are. I remember I was playing right wing and Mick Sweeney was playing right full, and Leon Bailey was just giving him a torrid time for a young fella. Like, well, I think he retired Sweeney that game, but anyway. So Caulfield said to me, he said, "Look, halftime, said Beach have to go and play right back." Turn us cross packed here, John. He says, "That fella, I can't get near him." So he's backed into me for a throw in first 2 minutes of the second half, and I shoved my finger up his arse, right? And he's backed in for a throw, and he's turned around. He's only 17 at the time. He's like that, like, and I was just looking at him like a weirdo, just staring at him, and he's thrown an elbow at me, and the ref hasn't copped it. 2 minutes later, he stood over a free kick. I dove, got a free kick off, and went to play it short. Boom, he got booked. Then he backed into me again for another throw, hit another elbow. His manager seen it and taken him off after 10 minutes. So I pocketed Bailey in 10 minutes by the little tactic, because I said, like, there's no other way. Like this, he's too good. But that was all under many cortisone shots you can count. Honestly, the warm up was a haze, a blur. I remember the game all right, everything about the game. But afterwards that night, it's just the pain of the whole thing, and I didn't train them for a week or two. But don't regret. When you look back, I don't regret, because the memories we've had, them sort of memories, and I missed enough games through injury. So when you could do stuff like that, it was good. But I just don't know the long term effects of all the stuff. Like even paracetamol, like I was taking paracetamol every day. Sometimes just to get through training for knocks and stuff like that. And that was all my choice. Like it was nobody else. It was just me. And like sometimes ulcers in my mouth from the amount of Nurofen and paracetamol I was taking, but don't regret it. Got to win 2 cups in a league and play in Europe, so it's one of them things.
Just on the fainting, Stephen, was that a frightening experience for yourself to happen, or did you even have time to think about it?
I didn't really have time to think. I didn't. No, this was before the warm up, so it was literally went in physio bed in the shower and pull the bags down and gone. Well, I wasn't there. I looked at the needle, and I was never good at needles, and I seen the big needle just as I went in. So then you get, and just a bit lightheaded. And I didn't hit the deck right because I was already down on the physio bed. So I just came around then and went out, and took me a few minutes down in the water, just jogging slow, and obviously it's a bit of a scary experience, but like no one would have known, like, so it just shows, like, because nobody really knows the full picture. If I'd had a stinker that game, like he's shite, like, but you don't understand what's been going on behind, and that's with not just me, but like the amount of lads that get stick that people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, whether it's family stuff or injury wise, and that's why I always hate where lads get, like, I've had teammates that are getting stick for no reason, and then there's massive issues going on that nobody knows about. It's like, geez, if only you knew. Like, it's but look, it's the nature of the beast being a footballer. It's, you take the good with the bad. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that going on as well.
You miss playing?
I do, yeah. I miss the crowds on a Friday night, the feeling of a Friday all day, the butterflies, still getting butterflies in your mid-30s to play a football match. Is like, that just says something. I don't miss the damage to your body. I miss the stick, the good and the bad. Like, I used to love getting stick. It used to make me play better. You miss the fans, the relationship, especially with Cork City fans, relationship I had, being a dub to be accepted like that. And like, even my missus from Cork, but we'd be walking around at Christmas Eve and coming home, and you still recognise people, still be having photos with you and all. Like, that's very unique, especially in the League of Ireland. So I do miss all that side of it, but there is certain stuff I don't miss with some levels of scrutiny. And like, we had to leave I remember we went 21 games unbeaten, and like 19 games I think we drew to Galway, and we were all out on a night out on the Saturday, and we had a couple of shite, like, because we didn't beat guys like 20. Well, you can't say it, and it's just, again, it's the nature of the beast. So yeah, I miss some aspects, but I don't miss the pain on the body and the pains at night and the mornings.
When you look at the league now, so it's like going on to 24, 5 years on, so in the last year in the Premier Division, are you surprised by the coverage, the improvement in terms of maybe the product, in terms of fans and even more media? Like, would you have thought 5 years ago this would have happened, or do you think it was always a natural thing to happen?
No, I don't think it was going to be a natural thing. I never could. You try and visualize it, because we were a bit blind, because Cork, when we were successful in Cork, Turner's Cross is packed, and you know what I mean, you do get that exposure. But now everyone's getting that, and it's brilliant for the league. It's only going to make it better, because there's some serious talent in the League of Ireland that goes untouched, and even that exposure on TV for players, getting young lads over. And I touched on the coaching side of it when I retired. I was coaching Cork's 19s, where I had the likes of Mark O'Mahony at Brighton, Franco and Palace, and stuff like that. So exposure, if they play first team, like young Cathal O'Sullivan now at Cork, was he 17, 16, 17? I mean, with all the media coverage and stuff around him, like, he'd probably get a move just by that coverage alone, but that wasn't there a few years ago. Fan involvement is massive now, like Rovers, Derry, even back to Bows, Pats, they're all getting these huge crowds, and it's only going to flourish. Like, it just needs to be in the right hands and handled the right way with the FAI. They still need to put way more money into it. You know, I talked about the infrastructure in Iceland. It's getting better, but could still be a whole lot better. But again, it's a great product. Like, I'd still love to go and watch a game on a Friday night, even though I'm not involved. Because you have that buzz. It's like, especially local lads that support the local club, local football, the greatest league in the world. Damien Duff, love him or hate him, brilliant for the league right now. With he could have just showed up at Chelsea, like, yeah, I'm Damien Duff, but you know, he's so passionate about the league. He's an advocate for the league. Again, good, bad, and ugly. That's great for League Round. So yeah, it's really in a good place. We just need someone out to crack Europe really good, like as in the Dundalk team back in the day. I think that would really kickstart things where people start waking up and kind of saying that this league is a serious league, you know.
Over in Dubai, do you see much of the league now? Obviously, LOI TV is available these days. Like, do you see much of the league these days?
I do actually. I have a device on my TV which I can't disclose, but I get all the games. Yeah, yeah. I watch. I do. It's only 4 hour difference, so he'd go into bed on a Friday night, and I'd watch 1 or 2 games. The games are great in RT. I know League Round TV is great, but the RT ones with the good commentary and stuff like that. I still watch anyone really. Like, I watch Rovers first game of the season. Obviously try and watch Cork when I can, but then LOI TV do the highlights package of all the goals after a couple of hours. Like, that's brilliant. So I wake up in the morning then and watch all the goals. So no, I'm still invested in it. Still watch it. Still got mates. Conor McCormack is still playing and he's about 40. So like, it's great. It's great seeing your mates still playing.
Anyone impressed so far this year in the Premier Division?
Team wise, obviously Shells. Great story. Obviously with my uncle, big Shelbourne man. Will they sustain it? I mean, why not? I know Duff played it down a few weeks ago, but I mean, even the results the other night, Derry got beat by Bowes, Rovers drew, Dundalk. Well, God knows what's going on there. Like, who's going to come out with a pack, really? I know Rovers will get their act together. Derry will be thereabouts. But then who's coming up from the mid-range is no one really at the moment that you can say. But again, we're still very early days. Really, really early days. But there is some young players, good young players that are impressing me as well. But that young O'Sullivan at Cork is he's some talent.
Is that the big change you'd say maybe from yourself coming into the league to when you finish in the league, that maybe the age profile of the league changed from, say, you mentioned they become experienced pros and you probably come into you mentioned Anton Murphy, for example, all these players, Dave McCarthy with me at Bowles when you were there, to now it's a very young league where players are maybe making their debut at 15, 16, Mason Mealy, Sam Curtis, and maybe leaving at 19, and there's maybe of an age gap now between, say, 24 to 29 in the league.
Yeah, best thing that's happened in the league was the young lads not being able to go to England with Brexit. Best thing, the league's going to benefit tenfold off that. Like now, like the Sam Curtis Exhibit A tore the league up for a young fella. Arguably the best right back in the league before he left. He probably would have gone to England before that if the rules hadn't changed. So it's definitely a direct correlation to that rule as well. But again, if you're getting 15, 16, 17-year-olds Premier League experience or First Division experience, then when they do go to England, there's such a better chance of making it because they're playing with men, senior pros. And yeah, as you said, I used to go into dressing rooms at 20, 21 and you felt like a real young lad. You know what I mean? But now, if you're early 20s, you're kind of a seasoned pro in the league rather than like someone who had played for 3 or 4 years by the time they hit 21.
I suppose finally, Stephen, just to bring it all kind of full circle, really, you were talking there earlier about Alan Reynolds. Looks like he's going back to Bohemians. I suppose you would have played under him and stuff as well. So I just get what's your thoughts on him going back in, taking the hot seat in Dalymount Park?
Yeah, great addition to Bowes. I think really good fit. He'll do really well. Very passionate. Bowes fans are very passionate. Obviously has to hit the ground running. Because Bowes fans expect results straight away, naturally, for a big club. But Rennie, first thing he'll do is get players on side. Great relationship with all the players. Obviously, really good coach, even international level with Jim Crawford, up at Derry, and so many years of experience. So I think it's a really, really good addition. I've seen a lot of different names getting thrown around, but when I seen Rennie's name, I actually said to myself that would be a good fit. And obviously, looks like it's going to happen. So I wish him all the best. He's a really good fella. And obviously, Bowes deserve to be up there as well.
Stephen, thanks for coming on. We'll chat again soon.
Cheers, lad. Thanks a minute. Thanks for having me.
And before we wrap up for this weekend, there's a quick run through the fixtures in the SSC Electricity League. No Premier Division action due to the international break, but there is First Division action, starting with Bray Wanderers against Wexford, Finn Harps Kerry, Athlone Town, Longford Town, Cove Ramblers UCD, and Treaty United Cork City, all on Friday night. No Women's Premier Division, but there is the All-Ireland Cup, and the fixtures are as follows. Eamon United take on Linfield, Cork City Wexford, DLR Waves Crusaders, Treaty United Shamrock Rovers, and Sligo Rovers Galway are all on Saturday. And on Sunday we have Bowes Lisburn Ladies, Cliftonville Ladies and Shelbourne, and Glentoran Women take on Athlone Town. I want to thank our guest Donal and also Steven Beattie. I want to thank you for listening, and we'll chat to you all next week.